This week's channeled message from the angels is about the role that time plays in our ascension and the important shift in our perception we have to make away from the construct of time to live in the present moment, to live in the now. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. And if this is your first time here, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. I channel information and healing from the angelic realm. And I do that by raising my awareness up as high as I can go and a little higher. I connect and then they come through and I share what they say with you here on YouTube. So this week's message, and I feel like a lot of the messages they've been giving us lately have been so incredibly insightful because they are tying together all the pieces of what this ascension is really about. So when we talk about our consciousness shifting and moving into an ascension, where are we going? What is this ascension? How are we changing? That's the kind of information they've been giving us the specific information that we can start to really understand what's changing about us. And this is an important piece of the puzzle. This one is about how the construct of time has limited us and how it's been applicable in the way things were, but that we are moving into a new state of being where we will no longer be thinking in terms of time. So I hope you guys enjoy the message. If you would like to receive transcripts of these messages, a lot of you guys have asked for transcripts and they are part of the peace bathing program. So I offer a monthly healing called peace bathing, where the angels come in and they bring potent healing that is very specific to what's happening in terms of the energies on the planet this month. And you use that recording, you come to the live session, you use that recording all month, and then you also receive the transcripts from each of these Friday lives to help you stay in that high vibe. If you'd like more information about that program, it is on my website, which is at anntucker.com. All right, you guys, enjoy the message. All right, I will go ahead and jump in. They say, we can begin. We have much to say regarding the turning point of mankind. You're opening yourselves more effectively. The instance of this coming time is new, not happening before as yet. We invite you in. We ask you with pleasing demeanor to be ready for what comes. I love that they put with pleasing demeanor to be ready for what comes. It's just like what we were just talking about like, don't be worried. Like, yes, they're telling us this stuff. They're even saying with pleasing demeanor, they're telling us be ready for what comes. So yeah, that's a pretty funny angelic way of saying with all smiles and happy thoughts, be ready for what comes. All right, next paragraph. They say, what serves you now in the opening is the sense of yourself, the sense you're coming to terms with what is just arriving, the sense of your own leavening, letting yourself rise. The predicament of humankind is that all things must rise. There is within the self a revolution to transport your own sizing, your sense of what you are, a new belonging to yourself. And this instigates within your minds more upheaval, more antagonism with those who share nothing of this counterpoint to where you've been. All right. And Rebecca says she loves the angelic, kind demeanor. Me too. So, okay. So in this paragraph, big things to note that they're talking about is they're saying, okay, everything must rise. And leavening is that's like bread that rises, right? It's like we are rising like bread right now. And they said we have to let ourselves rise. And then the predicament of humankind is that all things must rise. That's because we are on the earth and the earth herself is rising. So she is ready to evolve and to shift to a new frequency. And we are in these human bodies are part of the earth. They're made of the stuff of earth. We're like the neurons of the earth. So if she rises, we got to rise too. So that is the predicament of humankind that we got to do it. It's not really like, if we're going to stay here, we got to do this. We got to rise. So they go on to say, there is a revolution to transport your own sizing. So by that, they mean like sizing yourself up. How do you see yourself? How do you understand yourself? They say your sense of what you are. This is what's changing, is how we see ourselves. And so let's go into more why that's so important. They say a new belonging to yourself, and this instigates within your minds more upheaval and more antagonism with those who share nothing of this counterpoint to where you've been. So think about that as you are rising, that you end up sometimes in more antagonism or feeling that sense of like falling out of resonance with people that you've known or people that you've been close to in the past. So that's part of what's one of the things that really holds us back, right? Is the loss of of love, the loss of friendship, and that can be a hard piece of all this, of this rising, is the sense that if not everybody's on the same boat, it can be uncomfortable. All right, so it can be upheaval in your mind. Next paragraph. They say, and you're saying, excited to be joining you. Thank you. It's great to have you here. An antagonism to those who you've been close to and outgrowing. Exactly. Yeah, totally. Outgrowing. And it is if people that you're close to are not on the same journey and your frequency rises, we're attracted to each other because we resonate at a certain frequency. There's something that we share. And if you change that something, then it can be hard to find the connection, or the other person may start rattling against you, like, where is that thing? And start triggering or trying to trigger you. And if you're not feeling it, then it's like the resonance is broken. Yeah. And that can be hard. That can be sad. I think we've all, on this path, we've all gone through the process of losing people that we once cared for. Yeah. So we want them all to rise with us. That's the perfect thing, but we can't choose for them. Right. All right. Next paragraph. You reside in a separate space. We encounter you now as you are becoming. We feel there are ribbons and tendrils that move you along, that flow through you in abundance, and weave through you an effortless change of internal belonging to the self. The opening you pass through, you move within, the temperature of the self does shift. So, love this big sentence in the middle here, the effortless change of internal belonging to the self. So what they're talking about is how they see us going through this change. And they talk about this, and I love the visual that we are there, that we're in a separate space, we reside in a separate space, and they've talked about that this pathway is now open, right? This is now a possibility for us. So we're in a separate space. They encounter us as we are becoming. And the way they see this is like ribbons and tendrils that are moving through us, right? Flowing through us in abundance. So it's like all these little streams that are moving through us, guiding us towards what they're calling an effortless change of internal belonging to the self. So this is happening, right? It's happening, I think, and they talk about this whether we're aware of it or not. It's happening, which is awesome. Like, we love things that are effortless. Yay. Like, this whole awakening thing has been hard so far. Like, yay for something effortless. And you're saying lots of broken resonance. Yeah, I am sorry to hear it. And me too. It's not been an easy thing. And Louise is saying, you're an earth angel. Oh, thank you, Louise. Thank you for sharing, explaining all these messages. You are so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me and supporting this whole process. I really appreciate it. So it makes it so much more fun and so much more easy to have such a supportive community like you guys. All right. All right. So next paragraph, they go in, or they say, the next paragraph, they say, we wish to bring down into your awareness what we surmise, how we understand yourselves to become, the new becoming, how you are arriving, where you will be in this next century as things are changing amongst yourselves, between yourselves, within yourselves, all things radiating differently. So this is where they're saying, okay, what we're going into now is how they see us. So this is their perspective of us, and they're talking about in the next century. And the century is like, angels are not great with time. So they're kind of like, yeah, the next long time perspective. I think century is like just a word they picked out that means a long time from now. This is how they see us moving into the future, is sort of the idea. And I love that they say all things radiating differently, because it really reflects how we are. So they talked about tendrils moving through us, these tendrils and ribbons moving us along, little streams of awakening moments, right? Whatever those are, maybe they're breaths from the angels, maybe they're thoughts that we've had, breezes of like energy that are hitting the planet that are moving through us, like little ribbons and tendrils. And here they said that all things radiate differently. So we radiate the song of ourselves. And so that is going to be different, right? So, okay, next paragraph. And so here, like I said, this is their perspective. They say, you are abbreviating what you thought before, shortening, taking time apart and lessening the instinct you have had for rising to it. Counterpoint to that north node, a new star has struck your opening. It reveals this new journey to the self, no longer mired in the comings and goings of your world, enslaved to the clock, to timekeeping, making yourselves benign amidst a world of angry settlers. So such an interesting paragraph. So they're saying that in this next period, like, so part of this awakening that we're going through, what it means to us, and we've talked about that we're moving from the karmic to the dharmic path, and so they're giving us more information about what that means to be on that dharmic path. And we've heard all along, we keep hearing about, be in the now, be present. Here they're getting into specifically what that looks like. So they say that right now that we are taking in this process, we are taking time, the actual construct of time, apart, right? So not like, so the idea of time, taking that apart and lessening the instincts that we've had to be governed by time. So there's a counterpoint to that north node. So time has been the north node of our existence, which is like, that's heavy and true. Like how much of our lives are governed by time? So much, so much. Like how have you ever gone without your watch or gone for a whole day without looking at the clock? And it's a weird experience, but yes, we are so governed by time. And they say, so counterpoint to that. So that was the old way of being. A new star, so a new orientation has struck our opening, and it reveals this new journey to the self. So we will no longer be mired in the comings and goings of our world, enslaved to the clock, to timekeeping. And that makes ourselves benign amidst a world of angry settlers. So to be it's shifting and letting go of doing so, shifts and letting go. It's kind of that referencing that letting go of karma and moving into this more dharmic state. All right, next paragraph. There is within the self a shifting of purpose, an understanding how you've been, how your instrumentation has been faulty, has lingered too long in the separation of form from substance of what you are. And we are thinking that you are rising into the beginning without knowing what you've done, that you are rising, that you are coming into form and fruition and have no awareness that this is so. Such as you have done in past times, to have been below the radar of your own comprehension, the subliminal moments, the times spoken inside of yourselves. So this is, like I said, this whole message I find to be so interesting. And when it came through, you guys know that when I get these messages, I always think they don't make sense. Like I channel, oh, that didn't make any sense. That was garbage. And then I put the paragraph, I go back and I put in the punctuation. It's like, oh, that's really cool. It's always a fun experience to do that. So, okay. Anyways, but yeah, I really, really liked this message because I think it's pretty profound. So they say, big sentence here, they say your instrumentation has been faulty. So the way that we look at the world, the dials that we are looking at, thinking about the dashboard of your car and the things that we've measured, our instrumentation has been faulty, they're telling us. And so because our instrumentation is faulty, we have no awareness that we are rising, right? And many of you, I think people who are in our circles are very aware of it, but they're talking about people at large, like the general population. So what they're saying is that this rising, these tendrils that are moving through this shifting away from the way time has been is happening, and people are unaware of it. So, and that's what's so important and so interesting about this message is they're saying that the change is happening, but whether or not people make the shift is all in here. It's all awareness. So the change may have happened, but they're mentally living in the way things have been, right? So it's the whole thing comes down to whether or not we accept it, which is that's the big mind blower here, is that they're saying that yeah, that it is the instrument, because the instrumentation is faulty, it's happened or it is happening and they just don't see it, right? Wowzer. Wowzer. Betsy's saying our idea of what constitutes success is changing. Yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right. In such a good way, right? You see so much more conversation about that. For example, the whole idea of like, okay, everybody has to go to college. Well, maybe not. Maybe college teaches you specific things for specific roles. And maybe other people are way better off or would have way more of a meaningful life if they went to trade school, right? It's changing our ideas of what constitutes success. Success is about doing what is going to make you feel most fulfilled, right? Where you're going to bring your greatest value and blessings to the earth. Yeah. All right. So I think that is a cool paragraph that we just covered. All right. Next one. They say, with timekeeping, the thrumming ongoing of moment upon moment, keeping you down, instilled into the life where you are. Yes, time, dears. Time is where you lock yourself in, where you measure and make adjustment to your day. You watch your journey and mark the instance of each moment passing. You make this mark a journey of measure, of making the self enslaved to that which must be done. So, and this is like they're describing to us like what we've been locked into, right? That they literally say time is where you lock yourself in. So, being focused on time is part of what is locking us into an old state of being. And you're saying all systems need to be looked at anew. Yes, totally. And I also loved how they said lingered too long. I know. I love how they say things. It makes me happy. Yeah. They say so here it is. So time is where you lock yourself in. And because we use time all the time, because we are always watching the clock and we're always looking at measuring sort of like, okay, how much time is there before I have to do the next thing? That it becomes a journey of measure, that we're constantly measuring our journey based on units of time. And so that pulls us out of the present moment. All right, now this next paragraph is, I think, the big one right here. They say, and by the way, that last sentence in the last paragraph, the ascension is where you will be freed from time. Boom, right there. Ascension is where you will be freed from time. So, and that doesn't mean that we won't still have the planet rotating and that there won't still be how many days in a year and there won't be, it won't be like there are 24 hours in a day. That's not what it means. It means that we are living in the moment and not watching time, right? So that shift in mental perspective helps us to experience the changes that are already happening inside of us. All right. So next paragraph. This is the paragraph that's the big one. They say, what is sought is the sense of self in each moment. The precipice you are on, the journey unspoken, the timing as such matters not. The sense of self as now present is all that matters. The sense of time measures on into infinity, and there is no juxtaposition of the self and form. There is only now. Time measures where you are and puts you into relationship, this now moment from past and future, and distinguishes the self, that there is separation within the self. So let's break this one down. So they say, so what is sought is the sense of self in each moment. So this is what we keep hearing. This is Eckhart Tolle's message about like live in the now, live in the now, live in the now. But what does it mean and why? It is because the sense of time, as they're saying here, measures on into infinity, and there is no juxtaposition of the self and form. So this is that idea that when you are living in the now, that you get into that flow state that you hear about where time disappears. And if you've ever done something like maybe you've painted or gardened or done, or even folding laundry, you can get into this state where you are driving sometimes you're driving and it's like, where'd time go? It just disappears. Like you just lost 20 minutes. It went somewhere. Right. And it's that sense of being so present, it's so engrossed in what you're doing that you are no longer paying attention to time. And so they're saying that the sense of time measures on into infinity because you're not paying attention to it. So it's just time seems longer. It seems endless. Time stretches when you're in that state, right? And there is no juxtaposition. This is the big one. There's no juxtaposition of the self and form. So you don't, when you're in that state, all of you is present. So it's about bringing in more of the self. They keep talking about this too, bringing in more of your higher self. When you're in the present moment, you're bringing in more of your higher self. And they go into this more in the second half of this paragraph. They say that time measures, so in contrast to that, in contrast to living in the now, they say that time measures where you are and puts you into relationship this now moment from past and future. So when we are watching time, we are aware, yes, of the now moment, but we are more aware of the past and the future. And that doing this distinguishes to the self that there is separation within the self. So it separates us, it divides us. So when we are focused on time, we become many selves. Right there, like huge. Like how many healings have I done where I'm working on this self and that self and so many little mini selves in the person? Like we're like a many layered cake, right? And they're saying that when we are able to experience our life solely in the now, all those selves become one. Wow, right? So, and this whole concept of time and focusing on it, having that be the instrument that we're always reading, creates a separation inside of us where we are distinguishing past and future, right? And we're living like this yeah, in a state of separation. Wow. Yeah, you're saying all systems need to be looked at. Oh, you got that one already. That's right. And you're saying like when you are doing something you love, time stands still or evaporates. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, me too. That's exactly how it feels. It just literally like you're not even an hour could go by and you're totally unaware of it, right? I've had that happen before. I took a painting class in college and we had this amazing studio. We were able to use it. It had like a glass skylight that went the whole length of the building, so it had beautiful light. And you could it cement floor, so you could be messy, and it didn't matter. And it was like this amazing creative space. And I was painting for a assignment for the following morning, and I was in there, and I got engrossed in what I was doing, and I think I had some chocolate covered espresso beans too. That may have had something to do with it, but I worked all night long, and I didn't even realize it until people started coming in the next morning, and the class was starting, and I literally completely lost track of time. So yeah. Anyways, total flow state. All right. So the next paragraph. So that's the big thing here. That idea that time creates many selves within us. That all of these past selves and future selves, and being in the present moment condenses all of that. Condenses it, brings it together. So that's this gravity that they keep talking about. They've referenced many times that when we live in the now, we have more. We embody more of our higher selves. How do we do that? Because we're not separating ourselves into the past and the future. Like huge mental explosion there. Like this is like so clarifying. Tell me if you guys are feeling that way too. But this is like this just kind of threads through all the things we've been hearing and ties them up with a beautiful bow to help us understand what they're talking about. All right, next paragraph. This contemplates within your mind that you have been absented from now, drawn backward, forward, drawn elsewhere through time. Time measures all things in your mind. All things encountered time and are lost to yourself. All right. So that's the idea that you so within your mind, you're absent from now because you're drawn backward, you're drawn forward, you're drawn elsewhere. Time measures all things in your mind, and all things encounter time and are lost to yourself. So anything that is held in the context of the past or held in the context of the future is lost to the present. All right, and which means lost to the self, that gravity is not there. Next paragraph. Now, moment presence has no time, has no instance of result in passing. It is merely experience, it is felt. Now is a feeling, not a knowing, not an agreement. It is a sense of self in presence. And in time's passing, you're lingering in the dawn of what was. So that's the big one. This is saying it is merely experience, it is felt. Now is a feeling. So that a feeling of being presence, right? Of being completely focused on what is happening right now. And they're saying that the dawn of what was. So and in times past, we've lingered on the dawn of what was. So like the way things have been, time has fascinated us. Time has captivated our focus and drawn us to itself. So we've created this construct of time to understand and to make sense of our world, and it has enthralled us so that we govern our whole world by it, right? And you're saying you love, oh, you Betsy, stitching ourselves back into one being. Oh yeah, that is good. That is awesome. And you're saying totally feeling this way. And this Alan Watts video says the same. Thank you, Rebecca. I will watch that. Okay, cool. And you also love Betsy's metaphor. So do I. Betsy is a poet, by the way. She's posted some beautiful poetry for us to share. And Louise is saying, I have to remind myself to be in the now when I start stressing over past or future. Yeah, for sure. It's not an easy thing to do, is it? It's hard to stay in the now. Hard for us now. But the good news is that they're saying that this shift is happening to us effortlessly, that we are changing so that it will become easier for us to be in the now. They say it will be effortless for us to be in the now. Is as long as we have the perceptual, the mental shift is what we have to make. So that is pretty cool. All right, next paragraph. In the next years coming, as time marches on, your presence in the now increases. Your sense of self resolves. You become split from how you were, distanced from that. Time, machinations, that which held you down, which limited your scope and feeling, which made you feel yourself spread between the dimensions of past, selves, and future now, and all things contemplated. The sense of time as you are now will no longer endure for the selves. So this is it. This is saying this is what this shift in consciousness. They're giving us much more insight into what this is all about, and they've been doing this. Last several messages have been about this, which has been so helpful. And you're saying effortless. Yeah, that's what we want, right? We love effortless. And so they're saying, okay, the big pieces here. So it's the idea we talked about letting in more of the self. The sense of self resolves. So this is big. They say in the next years coming, as time marches on, your presence in the now increases. So this is happening, right? It's happening effortlessly. It's happening to us, for us. And now it's all about our choice to let that in and to change our perspective away from monitoring time to try to be now in the moment. So to work with this energy. But this idea of your sense of self resolve. So how do you let in more of your higher self? By living in the now, because you are not spreading your consciousness between the past and the future, right? So letting in more of the self. And then the scope of feeling, so which made you feel yourself spread between dimensions of past selves and future now. So that's that idea that we were, yeah, kind of peanut buttered out. We were spread out. And so now we're trying to come more centered into ourselves. Next paragraph. It will become a sense of where you are, your presence felt, this now, this opening, a sense of self evolving into now, into making yourselves endure the instant, the moment, and no longer, of staying within the breath of this now and not feeling yourselves absented beyond this instant, right? So it's really about trying to stay present in the now, the sense of self evolving into now. And that's a big statement right there too, because it's about, so they talked about in one of our past channelings about the shift from the karmic to the dharmic path, and how it's going from a time where we are forecasting and planning ahead and trying to see where we're going, into a space where we are standing on the crest or the wave of infinite potential and letting it emerge up and through us. And this is how we want to live. We want to live in a state, in a mental state, in an emotional state, where we are present in the now, where we're not worried about what's coming. We are instead letting the infinite potential rise up through us and emerge, and then seeing what comes towards us and working with that and literally responding as things come to us. And that's the goal. So this is where they mention it, the sense of self evolving into now, right? That we are constantly evolving. And this is exactly how earth energy works, by the way. That if you see earth energy, it is constantly evolving. Like if you look at the way that things fall apart, they never fall apart. They're always constantly evolving into something new. Like as something decomposes, it's becoming something else. It's being eaten by something else immediately, right? That it's a constant evolution. So this idea of evolving into now. Yeah. And you're saying really all that we have is now, and that is the truth. Louise says, I want that shift to be now. Me too. And Betsy says, surrender to the flow. Yes, please. Right. All right. So next paragraph. This is how you are feeling at present. The self distributed among many selves. Distributed, your essence, your spawn, it spreads and diffuses and lingers outward and makes now the eternal nothingness, but self-imposed upon now to eternity. So they're saying where we are right now is because we are lost in thought, because we are, and that makes now the eternal nothingness, right? So in other words, if we are stuck thinking about time, if we're concentrating on where we need to be next, or if we're measuring the moments, if we are thinking about what happened in the past, then we are not present in the now. So that we make now the eternal nothingness, right? So because of being lost in thought, yeah, it becomes the eternal nothingness, self-imposed. That's pretty heavy. All right, next paragraph. The sense of this now being time bound, timeline, recorded in time, these things will pass. The sense of self as limited in the being. The sense of yourself as rising beyond this measured now, your own forthcoming sound trumpeted into now. We invite you in. It will take time, but arrival is certain. There will come a time Yes, when you are feeling now presence more in the self, when you arrive to become what you are as felt in the now and dwell no longer in how things have been, estimating the next now from where you are, your presence seeping beyond into shades of impermanent discovery. So I love they're saying your arrival is certain. Like this is happening. It's happening for all of us. So it really is a perceptual shift that we have to make, and that they're taking care of the rest, right? The energies that are coming to the planet that are moving through us, these tendrils that they talked about, or ribbons that they talked about that are changing us, so that we have this option, that we have this capability, as long as we see it. And they say that our instrumentation is faulty, right? That we haven't been paying attention to the right things, or we have up until now, but it's shifted. This is a different space that we're in, and they're saying we have to change our instrumentation. Yeah, super cool. Next paragraph. And this last part where they're talking about dwell no longer in how things have been, estimating the next now from where you are, your presence seeping beyond into shades of impermanent discovery. So this is that idea that we're not in the present moment, right? Our presence is seeping into the past or seeping into the future, right? And this is like how we imagine things will be, or how were, or how they will be. So it's an impermanent discovery, right? It's just how we're thinking about it. It's transient. It's in our mind, and we're there sort of visiting, right? But it's not real. It's not in the now. Next paragraph. This is the last paragraph. They say, this essence you're holding in this new century, this essence you are cultivating now, is clamoring to be revealed. It is essence of what you are, a gravity of your own being. The more you accomplish this, your essence becomes more pronounced, more diluted you have been. In this next instance coming, we see your definition supported, your essence untroubled by the passings of now. Limited in scope and vision, this effortless stance permeates your field and allows yourself to comfort your own being with the knowledge that now is presence in all there is. So, okay, so they're saying that again, they're talking about this idea of gravity. This has been coming up a lot lately. They said in this paragraph, they say it is essence of what you are, a gravity of your own being, and this is really how we are moving into being. This dharmic state is really concentrating as much of yourself in this now moment, right? And bringing in as much of yourself as you can, and that means staying out of the past and the future, right? And they say, in this next instance coming, we see your definition supported. So they see that we have more and more support to be able to do this, and your essence untroubled by the passings of now. So this is going to be effortless for us as long as we can make this mental shift. A shift of expectations. That's the other thing they keep telling us to get rid of, is our expectations, because they lock us into old ways of being. And this is such a perceptual change that if we are expecting things to be the way they were, we will never see it. So it's really, we have to be open and receptive to this new state of awareness. And so they're saying, yeah, so we'll be untroubled by now. And the big thing, they said, this effortless stance permeates your field, right? So this, again, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard, and allows us to have comfort in the knowledge that now is presence in all there is. So now is presence in God, right? Now is presence in source energy in all there is. And that is, yeah, that's comforting. Like that's the real stuff. So such a cool message. I'm so geeking out on this message. I think it's so incredibly helpful. I feel like it's helping us. All of these abstract things we've been hearing about all this time, about, you have to live this way or you have to be this way. And now it's finally, I feel like it's coming together with so much more concrete understanding about what it is they're talking about and why. So hopefully you guys feel that too. I feel like it would be helpful to have maybe a session where we break down the messages and talk through, like, and kind of pull all the strings and show how everything fits together and what it means. Because I feel like we've just reached a new level of understanding about where we're going and what's happening to us and for us is through this process, and how we're changing. So yeah, and you're saying, you are here now. Yes, welcome everybody. We are here now. And you're saying, Rebecca says, we must stop measuring. I have stopped measuring how many laps I swim, miles I walk, etc. Perhaps this is part of it. Yes, that's phenomenal. I think it's a great example, Rebecca. That is so smart. Because think about it. It reminds me of traveling with a camera. And I remember when I was in college, I did the like backpacking around Europe, and I for the first while I brought my camera on, and when I was first there, I was taking pictures of everything, and then I realized that I was always behind my camera lens, and I wasn't really engaging in what I was doing. I was always trying to get that great shot. You know what I mean? And we never look at those pictures anyways. And so I wasn't really present. So I put my camera away and I hardly took any more pictures the whole trip. I bought postcards that had pictures of the things I had seen, or you know what I mean? Or I took occasional pictures of me and my friends. But it really changed my perspective and freed me up to just enjoy what I was doing. And I think that's the same thing with like measuring, like you're saying, like when you're exercising, when you're swimming, like how fun to just get lost in the sensation when you're swimming. That is such an immersive experience. But you're right that if you're counting laps, then you're trying to remember the number and you're not present. So I think that's awesome. A great example. And Betsy is saying, I lost track here. Here we are. It's freeing to stop worrying about the past or the future. It really is. I think so too. Yeah, it makes you nervous. I think it makes me nervous sometimes about like, oh, I should be doing this or that. I should be planning. Wow, I just had an insight for myself. Thank you for that. I have been normally I run my business quarterly, and I have planning of different launches I'm going to do every quarter, and I forecast and I do this kind of process. Right? I do it once, for every, and it's anyways, it's a process that's really worked well for me. But I am looking into the next 6 months and I cannot feel it. Like normally I'm very guided and I go by my heart, what leads me. And if there's just, I can't get the engagement. I'm like, should I do this? I know generally what I want to do, but it's like, I can't quite find the gear to shift into. It's just not there. And normally when that happens to me, I know that it means don't do it, because I had that same feeling. I was trying to plan a huge live event like back in 2020. And I was like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And then COVID hit. I was like, oh, okay, there's my answers. Because I wasn't going to be able to have a live event. If I had just done it anyways, I would have, it would have been a huge bum out. But now what I'm realizing is that if I don't plan, how about that? How about if I don't do my normal planning process and I can see my guides are like doing a dance all around me right now. If I just flow into it and then see what emerges. That is a scary thought, but I'm going to do it. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that. That's helpful. That's really helpful. Yeah. Okay. Rebecca's saying liberation. Louise is saying so comforting. I love how the angels continue to encourage us in this process. Me too. Right. They are right here with us. You know what I mean? And they are so dedicated to us. It is amazing. You're saying, Teresa saying, I missed first part, but I will replay. Sorry for being late. I never want to miss this. Thank you. Thank you so much, Teresa. Yeah, this is a good one. I definitely think you want to listen to the replay because there's some good stuff. It is really, I love this message. Rebecca says, love the camera idea. Yeah, it was, for me, it made a big change in how I experienced the trip. And it felt great. It really did. It felt very liberating to put it down and to not always have that, you know, thing hanging around me. Yeah. And you're saying, I've been having more moments of feeling so much love for myself and this earth experience. That's where we want to be, right? In that sense of joy and just, and it's not, and being in the now isn't always happy, right? Sometimes the now is hard. Like sometimes the now has hard stuff, but even the hard stuff is beautiful because you are experiencing it through the lens of source light of God, because you're in the now, right? You're present with your feelings, right? Rather than think about what that means is that when you run into hard stuff, if we are allowing it to draw us back in time into our karma, then we're perceiving negativity through the filters of what we've been, right? And enacting our karma, our pearls of karma. There's another connection that just is now making a ton of sense. Whereas if you are in the present moment, you're experiencing that hardship through source, through God, through the presence of all that is. So, wow. Okay. Boy, there's just more and more. I feel like doors are opening in terms of my understanding. This is so cool, you guys. And you're saying, totally scary and amazing. Yeah, for me too. For me too. All right. Wow, you guys, thank you so much for joining me for the message today. Your comments were definitely like so insightful and so helpful for me too. So thank you so much for participating and being part of this conversation. Sending you guys lots of love. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next Friday live. Bye, you guys.